20th evening, we were like, okay, now we are done. We were sitting in that. We had the mattress prepared on the floor in the corner. We had some lamps and candles, and we had just set it up. That okay, this is going to be the space, and we were watching a movie, and that's when Vikki actually had her first contraction.
This is the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that brings us alive, that burns myths and opens a channel of authentic natural birth stories. This show debunks the many myths of the medicalized births, showcases the plethora of choices a pregnant couple can make to embark on their empowered birth journey. I'm Divya Kapoor, a certified birth and lactation counselor and an aspiring traditional birth attendant. Let's get the flames blazing high. A home birth story with Raj and Vikki. Raj is a dear friend from decades ago, when we were young 20-year-olds who started their corporate journey together, and we were a group of 3-4 friends. I was a software analyst before I joined Birthwork, for those of you who did not know. Raj now is a life coach and has been coaching me in my work as well. He has been really helpful in bringing me clarity in this energetically heavy work. It weighs you down sometimes from the kind of experiences you have, and it has been really, really helpful working with him. Vikki, his wife, is a singer who is one of the most thoughtful and clear people I've met. I can't say that enough. Their home birthing journey is one with deep insights on teamwork as couples, when there is space for each other and when they individually process and direct their journeys and then come together as partners working on it. This is chapter 1 till the birth, and the second half will be released next week. Yes, so Henry, please tell us about your birth.
Yeah, you tell us.
This is
Yes.
Super quick and amazing, and they were 1 week late. How could they? So I blasted through.
Yeah. Henry, do you wanna say something to your mom? Yes.
Thank you.
She's right. Yeah, absolutely. She just explained it pretty well. Yes. You just confirmed it for us. Yes. You want to add something to that? Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, wait.
They were there.
Put you down, huh?
That's what he said. They were there.
They were there. They were all here.
Sweet. So, Raj and Vikki, welcome to finally the Birth Agni podcast. We've been talking about having you on. In fact, Raj has been the one who's been kind of initiating it from the aspect as in just getting me in the groove and getting you guys on. And I'm so happy that happened because I really get carried away with so many things. So, and podcast sometimes really just takes some back burner. Those people who know me then know that I'm really pretty bad at scheduling. So I'm so happy that happened. I've been waiting for you guys to share your story. And before we even begin, Raj and Vikki, tell us, how did you decide to have a home birth? Like, how did that journey happen? And you guys are really mindful. Like, so Raj is a life coach and Vikki is a singer. And so you guys are really artists in so many ways. And you have this attitude towards life where you slow down and take your time to process things, you see things, and I think Henry agrees with me here as well, that you see things, you take time to process things and approach things in a very nuanced manner where you figure out how you want to go towards a particular path in your journey. So how did home birth happen? Like, how did that decision really happen?
I think the whole idea, before we start about our decision, I think the whole idea of having Henry was to have a chance to be on your podcast. So we didn't want to miss that chance. No, jokes apart. First of all, thank you for the lovely introduction. We haven't been introduced like in a very artistic way. Probably this is the first time after our marriage that somebody has done that. So we are really grateful for that. Decision making was definitely a long process. And if I have to say, the source of information or the source of home birth was definitely you. We've known each other for 10 years now, more than 10 years now. So I've seen your journey, and I of course knew what you do and what's your work like. So I became the source for Vikki to know about, okay, what Divya does, what is the role of a midwife and how it works in India. And before that, we basically had a blank slate. We had no idea how it's done. I think the only source of reference was scenes from Bollywood movies or television that we have seen, that okay, there's a dai or a doula who's they're just waiting for her to come by,
And those were usually movies from Renaissance era, or like
like
old-
60s 70s, right?
No, like like middle-aged.
Middle-aged,
Something like really, really old.
exactly.
And this is the same, like in Germany, we have no presence on any kind of like movies or anything of home birthing. The only thing that are home birth presence is like the movies that are taking place in the Middle Ages or something.
True.
And then it's just very stigmatized in this way, na? It's only an educated thing, and we don't do that nowadays. We go to the hospital, and that's the same kind of opinion that my mother also holds, and that I didn't really talk with her much about this home birthing because I already knew her opinion, and I thought I'll have my own opinion and I'll just do what I feel like is best. But it's definitely very stigmatized here still.
Yeah. True, and I think in terms of how home birth is seen in India is same in Germany. It's not different, and I think it might be similar in different countries, but yeah, it's stigmatized. And to give you a perspective of how we got, or how Vikki got to this decision, was it's just a habit or a particular characteristic that Vikki has, that even if we have to buy something online, offline, doesn't matter, we do a lot of research. Like, what's the functionality of this, what's the use, do we really need it, or it's just a coping behavior that I want to have it because I have the money. So we do a lot of research, and of course there is a set of things that Vikki looks at, which is probably something I might have a blind side to, and then there are certain analytical things that I might look into, and so we collectively come to this decision. And since we already had this source of reference coming from you, that okay, this is how it is, it's so that I think normalized this idea of, oh, home birth is natural, and that made us ponder upon this question that if we were born 2 generations ago, or if we were just 2 generations back, this would have been a normalized conversation. Yeah, we would have probably been wearing different attire, different food, maybe different passport system, but that's how it is. Home birthing, if most of the people from our generation, the millennials, we talk to our parents or grandparents, it would know. It won't be longer than 2 generations back. That's how the medical industry has taken over. And of course, when an industry is created, there are supposed to be these pillars that or these boundaries that are set, and that creates this notion around this whole idea of birthing. And so we were informed, but not that informed that we took a decision in impulse. Yeah, Henry knows that. So there were a lot of I think it was probably 3 months or more that first we had an appointment with a gynecologist, which is the first step that you do in Germany. You speak to a gynecologist and you have this, okay, we want to have a family, what should we do? Because for me, it's always about, okay, what are we doing? What are the paperworks required? Or what's the bureaucracy around it? But that wasn't the case. It was super simple. We were just informed about a lot of decisions. And I think from there on, the moment we had this green signal from the doctor that yeah, you can go ahead and everything is, there are systems in place and this is how it's going to happen. And we didn't have enough information, but that was the time when we also started exploring, okay, how's the birthing or home birthing situation in Germany.
Yeah.
I knew someone from Instagram. She's also a travel blogger, but through her Instagram, I knew that okay, she's German. She's been in Germany and she's had 2 home births. So how can it be that someone living in Germany has already had 2 home births, and how do we not have enough information? That's where Vikki started talking to her colleagues and friends.
I also listened to your podcasts and to other podcasts from Germany to find out what's the situation here. And yeah, I really learned a lot of experiences from other women, from other mothers. And I came to the decision to have a home birth fairly soon. And I just kept collecting evidences, I guess, for myself, so that I could rectify my decision, or just to be able to say all the reasons that I'm doing it for, because people will ask you, and then if you tell them, and they're gonna be, oh, so you're gonna put your child in danger, is that's your reason? And then I have to explain myself, and then I feel like, okay, I better have a lot of things to explain than a little, because then I feel like I'm dumb or something. I didn't want to be that.
Yeah, that's a part of it. I think that whole process made her feel more confident about this is my path, this is my calling, I want to do it. For me, it was more important of what she feels comfortable. So speaking of this whole birth situation, or how it happens in Germany, so of course there's an option of going to a hospital and having a delivery at the hospital. There is no evidence that you go to a hospital and you'll have a natural birth or a C-section. We've had a mixed bunch of people who've had both.
Yeah.
And then there are these. Yeah. Henry has a lot of voice against hospitals, probably.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna. That's my section. I'm gonna speak about that one.
It's like, if only I knew the language. No. Then there are these birth houses or birthing houses where it's specifically for birthing, and it's same as having a home birth, but instead you have to drive to a place and do everything.
It's run by midwives, and they have a lot of machinery and things, kind of like that heart reading device, and what's it called? I don't know. And a lot of machinery that you would be able to have the mother on, but what they don't have on staff is doctors. So if there is anything happening and there's a problem with the birthing, they also have to
refer you
to the hospital or to the nearest. Yeah. So it's the same almost as a home birth, besides they have just a couple more machines and things.
Yeah.
And I felt like,
Either case, we have to drive to a place.
Right.
Yeah.
And driving anyway puts you into this state of rush. Yeah, when the moment you have the first contraction, and then you feel like, okay, after the contraction, I have to drive to a place, or someone has to drive me to this place. That already puts you in this state of, I don't know how it's going to happen, or what would be the consequence of it. There's always a state of fear, even if it's 8 kilometers or within 8 kilometers. That's supposed to be the ruling, that before registering your birth, we have to fill a lot of paper and we have to register to the nearest hospital, which should not be more than 8 kilometers. So the maximum buffer time or allowance time that they give is that even if something happens, the ambulance should be here, and door to door, it should not take you more than 15 minutes. And that's the protocol, that it should not be more than 15 minutes. So that also gave us this sense of safety, that okay, if something happens at the birth house, they will take us to the hospital anyway. But if we choose to do it at home, that's already a safe space. And for Vikki, I mean, this is one of the things that I like about her. I mean, the reason why we are partners is that she likes to make the place to be hers.
Yeah.
And that was a key factor that we learned not just through our whole research, but understanding that birthing is a natural process, and all you need to do, I mean, speaking from a father's perspective also, that all you need to do is support the mother in the whole birthing process.
Yeah.
It's a collective effort around the mother, how she feels. It's the space around her, the people, and then eventually you let the baby decide how the baby wants to come.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the baby is a participant, and Henry is confirming each of our like all those aspects of the stories. Henry is confirming for us. So the aspect of birth space is so important for the woman and for her hormones to function at the best for birth to happen. Um, Part of the reason that a lot of births in the villages, especially if I speak of India, happen pretty like they aren't really long is one of the reasons is that the woman feels absolutely at home. She's safe, essentially, and that's how mammals give birth. So if a cat gives birth, the cat is gonna really start finding the place she's gonna give birth. If it's a pet, it's she's gonna start finding the space she's gonna give birth in days before her labor begins, and then she's gonna just hide herself there. And by the time you realize where she gone, you realize that she's there with the kittens. Now she has her baby, so she really needs to feel that love, privacy, for her oxytocin to rush through her body and bring her the baby. So it's paramount that when Vicky had that innate sense of, I want to make this space mine. I want to make my this space wherein I'll birth mine. It has to be mine, and that's a primal feeling.
And I wanted this living room to be done as soon as possible because we did only move here a month before.
On 1st of November. So Henry was born on 23rd.
Yeah, but we started moving in October. So like we started moving, shifting things one by one. But that was my priority. Let's get the living room done. Like I want the place to be, I want to be able to sit there and have relaxation and have a good mind. I don't want to see boxes.
Yeah.
Don't want to see boxes. Like that was so important for me.
In fact, before we moved, we started moving to this new space. I think it was around the first or the second time we were here with some small stuff, and we did a small visualization exercise that, okay, where do you see yourself birthing the child?
Wow.
Which room? So we were already sure of, okay, this is the space that we want. So we both were on the same page in terms of, okay, this is the space, it needs to clear out, it needs to be sorted, and it needs to be that sacred space that we know, okay, this is where it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you guys decide to finalize the Hebamme, so the midwife, as it's called in German? So how did you decide on? How did you find one?
Okay, so it was kind of a game of recommendation. So you started first recommending us a midwife, which was located somewhere in Germany, not in Berlin. But we really liked her profile on the internet, which you recommended to us. And then I talked to a couple of colleagues, and one of my female colleagues, she said, she actually almost did a home birth. And she had already had her midwife, and in last minute or so, she changed her mind. But she does want to recommend this midwife to us. We wrote her. She said she didn't have time. She recommended us a pair of Hebamme.
A team of two.
A team of two. And then they, after like 3-4 weeks of working with them, they also said, oh, actually, we're not going to be able to do the birth with you. I'm so sorry. We're so sorry that this is happening. But then they recommended our final lovely midwife, Ditta. And Ditta is an Hungarian midwife, and she settled here in Germany for at least 10 years, let's say 12 years. And so she's...
Or even more.
Yeah. And so she's just very lovely, very down to earth. She's done a lot of home births, and she also has this background in Hungary of how they do things there, and that was very enlightening. And yeah, so we're very happy how we ended up with our midwife.
Yeah.
Interestingly, she also talks a lot about indigenous methods and how we have these. In India, you would call dadi nani ke nuskhe.
Huh,
So
right.
that's like some things that you learn from your Oma. And so she also used to say that, okay, this is how we've given this generational education. This information is coming from the top. And she was also very, very curious about the whole Ayurvedic system and the Indian diaspora of healthcare system. And so, of course, every session that we had with her used to be a lot about what's coming next, what are we going to do, and how are we going to prepare ourselves. But it also used to be around the topic that, okay, so how is it in India? And I'm really curious to know how the midwives are doing there, and I hope one day I get to go travel to India and stuff like that. So we had a lot of common points, and that was also a point when we started basically having these interviews with the midwives. So that was one with Sarina and Nicole, the team of two.
That was before.
Yeah, before. So it was not like, okay, this is the team who has recommended or who's been recommended and we have to work with. It was more like finding the right people that we would like to work together. And I think that mindset also made it very clear that, again, it's building a team for a supportive cause. The cause is one and all, which is to bring Henry onto this planet. And we just happen to have this luck, or what do you call it, synchronization, that we kept on meeting the right people and right things started happening to us as we explored deeper into the topic of home birth. And then, of course, not forgetting to mention the pre-birth course that we did with you. That was equally important, that prepared us for the big day. And the information coming from that, combined with the research that we've been doing, and also the non-research part. I mean, that's also important to mention, that when you start researching, you sometimes you dig a rabbit's hole and you go deeper into that topic.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we kind of knew where to set the boundary and what to believe, what not to believe. And even if there are things that support home birth or doesn't support home birth, we were clear on our path that, okay, this is how we are doing it. This is the space which is ready for Henry. And another thing which was important was to make Vikki feel that it's normal. It's just a life process. It's as normal as, maybe I'm downplaying by words, but maybe it's as normal as having a cold and flu. And yeah, it's a process. 3 days, 4 days, it's gonna go away eventually once the cycle is complete. Again, it was a very bad comparison, but again, 9 months is a long process. It's a cycle, and you need to do things step by step. And once it's done, it's going to be fine. And realizing the importance of mindset plus understanding your body was also very crucial at this point.
Yeah. I remember an exercise where we were talking and we were trying to ask Vikki, like, what makes you feel better when you have these pre-birth cramps and these so she said, oh, I like moving around. And one of these days you had this really, the night of where you had like big contraction, a few, they were like really intense, and you got into a position on your own intuitively. And I think I don't remember if we had already done, I think we hadn't done those positions as yet, and you intuitively went into that position, and you were like, okay, that helped kind of not feel it, and it went away. So that's how we learned how the women are so intuitive. They just know, and it's a part of building that confidence into ourselves. And women just know. They just know which position to assume, because who tells all these mammals what to do? when they're birthing. In fact, the birds, how do they know precisely how to make that nest? Because they have to go find the right twigs, do the design work. Sometimes their nest is really broken by other birds and they redo the work again. So the mind kind of holds, like, has a power over the body. So if they want to delay their birth because the nest is not ready, they will do that. And it's going to be absolutely fine. So, yeah.
But what I wanted to mention is that, especially through your course, I've really gained a lot of confidence in listening in on my own feelings, like on how I can just be confident with what I'm thinking right now is the right thing to do. Like, just this gut feeling of and just going for it. And I don't know, it's really helped me through the whole process. Also, sometimes, like when you talk to people and you feel like, maybe I don't want to tell them everything, but then you just say some things and then you say, I don't have to rectify myself. It's my decision. I don't even have to talk to you about this.
Yes.
Like, I had this whole like confidence and I did not need to ask everyone's opinions anymore. Like, it felt in me and that's all it mattered.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
In fact, her intuition was so strong. Like, I could feel that she's doing things instinctively, even if it's just picking what to eat or deciding, okay, what are we gonna have. So I realized that, okay, at this point, if I become the person who starts questioning her, okay, why are we doing this? This is supposedly not good for the child, or this and that, and I thought, okay, I'll be creating more hindrances rather than being that supportive person. And this comes from my past experience when my mom was expecting my younger brother, who's 13 years younger to me. So I was kind of quite elder and sensible in terms of understanding how it works. And I've seen my mom work one day before she got admitted for the delivery. So for me, it's a very normalized thing to see pregnant women work, and not just work, but to go about their normal daily life without being stereotypical of the fact that you're pregnant, you're not supposed to do this, or you should not be doing this. The do's and don'ts, I mean, specifically I'm referring to the don'ts. I felt like, okay, where is this piece of information coming from? And this is also something which was more like a self-coaching sessions for me, which I used to do every morning while doing my meditation. That, okay, why am I doing this? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from my own experience, or is it just an acquired experience that is coming from something that I may have seen or something I may have learned from some external source? Since that wasn't really evident from my personal experience, from my mom's delivery with my brother or things like that, I concluded that, okay, this is just coming from the external influence, mostly movies or series, where pregnant women is always portrayed as someone delicate.
Yeah, baby. And then, even though I didn't have to work because I was in Mutterschutz, that they put like at the work they have like a 6 week prior to the birth date and then 6 week post.
Mutterschutz in English would be mother protection. It's like a law.
It's a law that you have this time off. But even though we had this time off at work, we had this move at the house, so I didn't really not do nothing. Yeah, anyway. I tried to be good and not to lift things, and I made myself useful in other ways, I think.
Also, knowing her as a person helped a lot, because I know the kind of person she is, and if she is sitting idle, she may acquire more stress from not doing anything.
Yeah.
So when you know this is how the person is, you need to accept it and you need to support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the moment I started, and there were moments where she would say, I want to take the bike to work today. And my first instance was, no, are you crazy? Like, who takes a bicycle to work? And that was my first response. She went to work anyway. It wasn't like I stopped from that point where
Yeah.
I said it, and I already went inside my inner dialogue that why did I say that? Like, where is it coming from? Again, the realization of, okay, this is not coming from my lineage, it's coming from somewhere else. But is it helping me in this moment? No. And she used to go to work on bicycle. I think she went till the 32nd week,
Na yeah,
until the, yeah, so 36th week, whenever she used to go.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
was still
20 minutes by bike, but that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's normal.
And this is so profound, this realization and this sitting with yourself and thinking through what am I saying to somebody who really has a sense of their own body and the sense of their own wellness. And each individual has that. And especially pregnant women, they have a heightened sense of what's right for them and what's not. And yes, and you're right when you say that, Raj, that where is it coming from? A lot of it is from the fear around pregnancy and birth, which has been created, which is too heavy a load to carry sometimes, and it just plays into our daily lives that don't do that, don't bend down, don't pick that thing up, don't I mean, women have been working in fields, if we go collectively to really traditional times, and they would do all sorts of things. It's just that they've been doing that all their lives and they just led lives as usual. And I remember, again, I've always looked up to animals for so much inspiration that I there was a cat pregnant on our terrace, and there were a few cats that were pregnant after the baby was born. And I was going through this transition into birth work, and I saw them. This cat would jump from one end of the this it was her daily path, from one end of the house to the next one. She would jump, she would do all sorts of things, and I was like, how do they not, they're tiny, how do they not really, like, what's the aspect of safety in the human realm, and then how is it different in the animal realm? And they do all sorts of things. They have to hunt to find the food. They have to just
they don't have a choice.
yeah,
Like we have a choice, and we, of course, when the father is here, then and the father has the capability of protecting the woman of not having to work in that time, then I think that's a very luxurious thing to have. Animals don't do that.
yeah,
Right? Or like only very few. So of course the mother of the cubs and of the little ones will have to hunt until the day she gives birth. I mean, it's just natural. And it's also with people. I mean, if there's a luxury, if there's abundance of extra time and extra money, and you can take that time off work, then there's only reason to do it. It's there's only good reasons for it to do it, because you can really tune into your body, tune into the experience that's about to come, and you don't have to take all this stress around you. You don't have to take this work related issues and take them home with you. It's yeah, but I mean, again, if you're not in the position to have that luxury, then it's not your fault either. Yeah, you have to play the game the way you can. There's only that.
no, that's so wise. That's so wise. In fact, that kind of balances out the argument here. For the fact that when it's the nesting phase, it's like getting everything together. But right before birth, most mammals slow down. That's also one of the aspects, and that's why all of we have so much fat collected in our body so we can survive, and also then lactate and feed the baby. So there's this extra reserve that the body keeps. No matter what we do, it's just gonna have those reserves on our body. So I really like the way you balanced out the argument for all aspects of life and how it can be different for different women. And there's nothing wrong in either of that, and still being very aware of the fact that we can enjoy both if just just work with what we got. So yeah, absolutely love that. So throughout this journey of pregnancy, was there something that you really remember that kind of played into your mind, and so when you looked back, that aspect of pregnancy was, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
probably there could be so many little instances that add up.
Can I add something to that?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So I think falling into place would have happened if we had a place which had already fallen into that space. We had prepared the
yeah.
space, but after we move, there's definitely so many things to do and so many things to take care of. I remember the last appointment that we had was on 20th of November, which was to fix our Wi-Fi, just to move the Wi-Fi from the old house
Yeah.
to the new house. And once we had the Wi-Fi here installed, 20th evening we were like, okay, now we are done. We were sitting in that, we had the mattress prepared on the floor in the corner, we had some lamps and candles, and we had just set it up that okay, this is going to be the space. And we were watching a movie, and that's when Vicky actually had her first contraction.
Wow.
which did not go for too long. It was just
No,
a
it
couple
was-
of minutes.
Yeah.
And it was right in the middle of some movie that we were watching, playful movie, of course. And when that happened, I was already on my alert mode.
Mm.
Like, it just triggered that response that okay, if this is it, then what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
What are the things? We had this list from our midwife. We had taken a printout, put it on the door that okay, these are the things that we need for the birth. We had a checklist of things that we need to have at home, with items that will be required. So for me, I think that day gave me the sense of realization that the fact that we had started interacting with Henry from 5th month or 6th month, like we would have conversation with
Mm.
Henry. End of the day, I'll just tell him, okay, this is how my day went.
Wow.
I had a coaching session with XYZ person. This is what we talked about. And then Vicky would do the same, but in German. So we were using our own language, so creating this bonding with Henry. So on that day, I had this realization that okay, we are not just dealing with a baby, we are dealing with a human consciousness,
Yes.
a
Oh my
soul.
God, that's so. Oh yes, absolutely. Wow.
And the fact that she had this contraction, it could have happened anytime. The official appointment or the official date that we got was supposed to be 17th of November.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
The day passed.
they
with
passed
nothing
with
usual-
nothing
nothing happening.
usual. We had a normal going, and on 22nd afternoon we had a visit from one of our close family friend.
Yeah.
We had coffee and cake. We walked her to the train station. That's where she basically kissed Vicky's belly and said that okay, mister, I want to see you next time outside in the real world.
Next time we meet, it'll be
Next time we
for
meet,
you.
it would be outside in the real world.
Yeah.
And we still tease her that okay,
It
this is how Henry took it so seriously. That okay, this is your order. Your order is my command. Next day he was like, okay, mom, let's go for it.
I just realized also there was one instance that when you said everything fell into place, I think it's, although there was a lot of back and forth and we were looking for a space to live the whole year basically before that, I think it was in our vacation in summer when we got to know that the space that we really wanted for a long time is after all available for us. This was a long back and forth for us, and then from that moment where I thought, oh my god, we're going to be able to move in there and we're going to have the birth in a new house with the garden and it's going to be amazing. And of course then there was again back and forth. When are we going to be able to move in? Maybe we're not going to be able to move in the fall. Maybe it's going to have to do after that. But anyway, there was this moment that felt like, oh my god, it's going to happen in a new place.
yeah, the place that
And
you've
in the end,
wanted.
it happened in the new place, and we were so grateful that it all happened that way.
Yeah. In so many ways, we say that the baby chooses so many things, like a new soul that's coming through you has all these karmic connections. with so many things, including the places. So they decide where they want to be born, including hospitals sometimes. Some babies, no matter what we do, we decide on a home birth, ended up in a transfer, like the birth happens in the hospital itself. And that's also a part of the entire, like we can't predict things at the end of the day. And it's also beautiful how when you guys spoke of like one thing led to another, and you were just, there was a chain of people that brought you to the midwife that was there at birth. We also say that the baby chooses who the baby wants at birth. Sometimes nobody. That also happens, that the baby really wants to be born in a space where nobody reaches the baby. So the baby is sometimes quick for that reason as well. Like nobody reaches and the baby is just born.
It was
So-
close enough for him. I think the midwife came here, and within 15 minutes the baby was here. So it's not like she was here for hours.
Okay, let's not go here and there.
Okay,
Let's just
okay,
start
yeah,
from the
that's-
beginning because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, no,
That's true.
absolutely. It gives a
Yeah.
good hint here. So
Yeah.
how did the labor start then? So you had one contraction like while you were watching the television, and then
Yeah, there was a couple of days prior to the actual date. And on the 23rd morning, we had breakfast, and during breakfast, I already started having contractions.
Hmm.
They were pretty mild still, and then I felt nauseous, and I had to, yes,
throw up.
what I
Yeah.
just had, which I did not think was gonna happen because I didn't hear it anyway. So I was like, that's weird. But anyway, contractions kept happening, and they were pretty regular. I had this countdown app. I just installed it really quickly, and then I just pressed whenever I started and when it stopped, and then so we had a pretty regular intervals, and started calling the midwife and said, okay, it started. And then she said, okay, I'll be there in the afternoon. So this was at 9:30 when it started, yeah? 9:30, 10 o'clock. I think we called her around 9:45.
Yeah.
And then she said, I'll be there in the afternoon. It'll be...
Yeah.
She was
It's fine.
supposed to be here.
I'm now... Yeah, around 2. And she was at the hairdresser anyway, so... And, okay, from the timing, Raj is going to be much better at this because he needs to be here for this. The next thing is, I was on the sofa watching some... No, I think I was just in myself. I didn't think I can watch anything.
I think by instinct, and this is also something that I realized, that the moment she realized that these contractions are getting stronger, she already downloaded this app, which we had no idea. She went with her instinct, and she started counting. Like every time the wave comes, she's doing this timer.
Yeah. Start and stop.
Yeah, and she started doing that. We called Ditta, and she said, yeah, I'll be there. I'm a hairdresser, and it's fine. Then she said something that, anyway, it's the first kid. It's gonna take some time.
I remember when you messaged me, I also said it takes time because for a lot of mom, it takes days for birth to happen. So we take it really lightly that it's gonna just, it's gonna.
So from there on, I think Vikki was already having these waves, and they were getting stronger. I would have loved Vikki to share the instance from here on because it's supposed to be her experience. But by this time, I think it was almost close to 11, and she was on her fours. Like she's already on the floor.
This is when my water broke.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
No, because I wouldn't have been on all fours.
No, you were already here, and she's not at the spot. Like we have a spot created for the birth, but she was on the couch. Probably she was conscious about, okay, what if the water breaks and it's a new couch, it's beige in color or cream in color, okay? So she was still conscious about these things. So she went on the carpet, and this is where the water broke.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the place where
but it
had,
broke
and
on the
then
way.
It broke on the way,
Yeah.
of course, on the carpet.
Yeah.
A bit messy.
Yeah, I had to, and by this time I'm already doing I'm doing a sprint. I'm going to the kitchen. I'm just recollecting, okay, what are the items that we need, making preparations for what Ditta needs when she's here. And there was another layer to it that Vikki wanted to have a water birth.
Yeah.
So for that, we already had a big pool purchased, and we wanted to prepare it, have it ready, but we weren't really prepared that it's going to happen so soon that we won't have time. But I'll come back to that in a bit. So this is when I'm looking at the items, preparing these bags. Okay, we need towels, we need these things. And I'm also checking on Vikki from time to time. And I saw the water broke. There was a little bit of meconium. So my concern was to see if it's meconium or if there's any blood or if there's anything else. Because meconium, by this time, we already had enough information that, okay, meconium is normal. That happens in normal cases. In most of the cases, it happens and it's totally fine. It's nothing to worry about. Which someone who doesn't have that piece of information would always think that, okay, I need to call an ambulance right now. Instead, I helped Vikki move to the mat where we had everything prepared. And by this time it's already 11:30. In between, I must have texted you saying that, okay, the contractions have started. And from you, I got the same response that, okay, if it's the first child, it's going to take a while. So that kind of relaxed me for a moment that, okay, what are we looking at? Are we looking at late evening? Are we looking at late afternoon? But fine, we have enough time. And Ditta would be here in a couple of hours anyway.
So you started with the pool preparation.
Yeah, I thought now I have enough time to prepare the pool. So I started looking for the pool, and the pool was already there. It was already ready. Just that water had to be filled in.
And we'd already prepared the garden hose. And there's even an extra piece that connects the garden hose with the shower.
With the shower,
like a small ring.
Yeah, it
and
gets the water.
And we had purchased that, and for some reason, it did not show up.
I didn't find it.
He was looking for it everywhere.
Wow, and that also happens when you don't find something at the birth. Most likely, you don't need it. So it's just that things happen for us sometimes when they are supposed to happen like that. So it's just a redirection.
I am a believer of this, but at that point I wasn't thinking through my head, and by this time it was already 11:30, and I'm still looking for this piece, this small copper piece. I have the pipe in one hand, I have the pool on the other side. Vikki is there. I'm just asking her, babe, are you fine? It's gonna be fine. And by this time it's already 11:30, and suddenly I hear roar. Like she started roaring.
Yeah.
Now that roar, I still have it very clear in my head, because that basically snapped me out of the reality. You are looking, like, it was my inner dialogue. It was like myself coming in front of me and telling me, you're looking for a piece of copper. Forget about it. It's not required right now. Water pool, forget about it. By the time you fill the water, baby would be here and you'll be throwing a feast to all your loved ones. And that gave me this point that, okay, fine, I'm doing whatever I'm doing is not required. I need to be with Vikki in this point. I came in, I was trying to make her feel comfortable, but that wasn't helping because she was already doing what she's supposed to do. She had again breathing hard, and I think at that point I just said that, babe, do you want the baby to be delivered just by me, or would you like to have it when Ditta is here?
Yeah.
And I said it in a very nice way, but probably she didn't even hear it, and she started roaring even more.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I can't do anything else. I made a call to Ditta right away without even saying a word, because Vikki was roaring in the backdrop.
Yeah, she could hear it.
She heard it and she's like, oh my god, I'm coming right away.
Yeah, the baby's right here.
She didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
I'm coming on the way. Raj, do you have everything prepared? I'm like, yeah, I have everything. Okay, just make sure you're there, and if anything happens, just I'll be on the call. Yeah, that's what happened. Then we made a call to Vikki's parents in Dresden. Dresden is 2 hours away from Berlin. So her mom anyway wanted to be here,
Day
not
after.
not during the birth, but after the birth. So we gave her the information, and of course Vikki was still in this active labor
Yeah, thick of
pain, or
birth. Yeah.
so she ended up not talking a lot, but my
Just
informing them, and my father-in-law said, "Okay, it has started." Like something in German, he said, "Yeah, it's starting now." So in a very very fun way. So everything was so calm and relaxed, except for that one point where we were looking for this missing piece, which, as a matter of fact, we haven't found till now. We've cleaned the house so many times, it's gone. And that's when you realize that, okay, it wasn't required at all. So 11:30 was the second call, and then Ditta was here in an hour. She comes, she takes a look at her. She made you change the position because you were on your all fours.
I was on all fours, yeah. And I was trying to relieve the pain somehow.
Also the head, I could see the head by that time.
Yeah.
When she was here, the head was not completely
But when
out.
I was already changed,
Yeah.
she changed me to actually lie on my back, and I was like, "Hey,
Mm.
wasn't this the position I'm not supposed to be in?"
Yeah.
And then, but I didn't say anything because I was not even thinking clearly. So she had me lie on my back and her beard, and I was like, "Okay." And then my back started hurting a lot, and then because it was just not a good position for me. And then when I had contractions and she had me push a little bit also, she said, "Okay, I'm holding him back. He's coming too fast."
Oh.
So that's basically probably why she had me on the back, so that it doesn't just flip out of me. So that Henry doesn't come so fast that I will tear everything. And it's a very important thing, of course. So then that way you will slow down and kind of go with the contraction slowly. It was still extremely fast, I think. But I mean, in my perception, I don't know.
Yeah, but what we heard from Ditta was...
Yeah, what we've heard was... Yeah.
It was 6 pushes. In 3 pushes, he was already at the hips. And then she pushed him back a little bit. And then Vikki did another 3 rounds. And the next 3 pushes, Henry was out. I was holding Vikki from back.
Yeah.
And Henry... This was also a very... We will talk about this first impression that you have from the birth, the first memory of your child. And I think the memory that we have is Henry's head. We could see the whole face, and he basically just had this expression of, okay, now I'm here. But then he looked at us kind of in a weird look and started crying.
He was still inside.
He was still inside. The body is still inside.
The head can take time. When it comes, the head can stay for a second and then the body turns. So that turns, sometimes the baby takes a few seconds to figure out how to maneuver their shoulders out of the pelvis.
He was already aware and he was screaming. It was so funny.
That was in a way Henry telling us that, can anyone help me please?
Or maybe he wanted to come back in.
Either way, he said, "Oh."
What is this?
Maybe he was angry that you stopped him from coming. He was already coming 3 pushes back, and you made him stay in for 3 more pushes.
That was hilarious.
So
could be a complaint cry.
Could be, but let's not remember it as a complaint cry.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that's how the thing was.
When he was out, there was this
this umbilical
cord was wrapped around his head also.
Yeah, but Ditta had already cleared it.
She said it was, I mean, I also didn't think it was going to be a big problem, because you also said it's not an issue, because a lot of babies are born that way and they're just fine. And since it was so quick, there was nothing. He had no problems.
And when this birth, when Vikki was already in labor, I think at one point I told you to start talking to Henry. Like, just tell him, reaffirm that, okay, Henry, you know what to do. Mama is here, Papa is here. just take your time, we are here. And this is also something that we would usually say to him before going to bed. Like, we would do this body scan meditation every night, and we'd always tell him that, okay, Henry, now is the time. Mama needs rest. You do your thing. Prepare yourself. And that's, it may sound so naive, but at the same time, this has been such a profound experience, this whole birthing chapter, that brought us closer to understanding that the power of nature. Like, sometimes we just undermine this whole idea of nature being just nature. It's way more than that. It's beyond our comprehension. And just this moment gave us this realization that I can't even express it, but I think you can understand the gist of it, that how profound it was, just the whole experience. We also had the camera ready. Probably we agreed.
Oh, we had so many things ready.
We wanted to have pictures, and Ditta said that, oh, I can take your
I
pictures
wanted to
if you
have
want.
candles, but it was in the middle of the day.
She wanted to
So-
have candles. We had a playlist ready on
A
Spotify.
playlist was ready.
Oh, yeah.
She
It
had
was
affirmations ready.
lovely. I did.
So this was all part of the forms that we filled with our midwife. That what would you like to do when your birth happens? Because she said some people in other cultures, they like to dance, they like to celebrate, because it's supposed to be a celebration. It's a big event. So how would you like to see your birth? And of course, the first thing that came to my mind was that I come from India. I need to get a lot of sweets. Of course, that's not what we did, because we've almost eliminated sweet out of our diet for more than 2 years. But again, this is coming from the cultural references, what we've seen, what we've learned. And
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, what best I can do? So after Henry was already there, I got the opportunity of cutting the cord. So Ditta was like, okay, would you like to do the
Beautiful.
honors? And like, yeah, why not? Cut the cord. I went to the kitchen straight away, prepared blueberry shake. Yeah, blueberry shake for Vikki, because that sugar gives you this sudden energy that you require.
Yes.
Because it's a laborious process. I can't even emphasize how much calorie do you burn during labor.
Calories.
Yeah. So I did.
Yeah, but it is a marathon in and itself. Even if you're not really running, you're in one place, but it's a marathon. You're fighting, like, really just on a marathon in your body.
I think honestly, because it was all so fast, my body was not all out of power at that moment. Like, I think because it's,
Yeah.
it was all done so quickly. So I was really lucky with that, honestly. But then,
That's true.
yeah, so after Henry was on my chest, and we had this first,
The golden milk.
golden milk latching.
He basically had the
we
first
found,
latch.
so that was good. And then Ditta made me look for that extra afterbirth, that's placenta and thing. And since it didn't come by itself, she gave it a tear a little bit, a tug. And then when she looked at it, when it came out, she decided, or she looked at it and said, okay, there's a lot of it missing. There's quite a bit still inside of you, and it's not a good thing. And so actually, so this is part 2 of the whole birth experience. Everything was amazing up until the point of Henry's birth. And afterwards, it started to go a little downhill.
Yeah. Before we go there, I wanted to ask you, how did the contractions feel in your body? So towards when the baby was already coming, like when Henry was already coming, they were quite intense. Like you're saying, they were. So you mentioned that they were out of the body, like they had their own power. But do you remember that they transitioned from mild to intense to really intense? Like, was it a transition or it just happened? What do you remember it to be like in your body?
I don't really remember the mild ones anymore, because they were just, okay. they were probably fine. And then from the more intense ones, where I put like, okay, this is kind of hurting now, it's a lot, to like the ones where I'm roaring, I could not even do anything about this. I did not do it on purpose. It just came out of my voice, out of my body, and I had no control. There was absolutely nothing that I did that happened. Like it was just, yeah. And there was a lot of pain in my back, and so my lower inner back. It felt so weird. Like I had never had pain there before. I was like, hey, where is this even from? Yeah. But basically, it was uncontrollable in a way. And even though I realized, okay, this is part of the process, I wasn't scared about it either. But I was also not able to do these recommended breathing techniques by being in this contraction. I could not do anything about it. Like the contraction was so intense that I absolutely had no control. So I couldn't do any whatever the other exercises were.
Yeah.
It was either manageable, where I hardly had to do anything, or it was this crazy one.
Huge, intense waves that just took you to the shore. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Birth is a wild animal. That's what my teacher says. It's a wild animal. So at some point it does go to that wild, like wilderness. And yeah, thank you for sharing that for women like who'd want to have more information on how it can feel like. And at the same time, still women can do it. They just know what to do. So that roaring is also a part of managing the pain, even if it doesn't feel like it. Being on all fours is also a part of doing the work of birth, even if it might not feel like it, because it's so instinctual.
There's nothing that could have stopped me from roaring. It's not like I did it on purpose. Like if Raj had said, oh my god, can you please not, then I couldn't have. Nothing could have stopped me.
And that's the contrast with the hospitals, and I do want to bring that up because in the hospital sometimes there's so many people watching you. The nurse is watching you, the nurse is sometimes stopping you, trying to maintain decorum and discipline you during labor and birth. And that's the worst place for us to discipline a wild mammal, like a mammalian process. To be disciplined, it's not supposed to be disciplined. It's supposed to be raw. It's supposed to be like it, very raw. And voice is essential part of birth. It's true that some women may not really roar, but at some point they will. And that's how it is. It's also a different experience for different women, but using the voice, it's an integral part of the process.
I'm glad you brought this topic of being raw and being instinctive. From a father's perspective, I saw Vikki doing things that was nowhere in the textbook that we read, that was nowhere in the course that we discussed. There were talks about women having these capabilities, or the body, the mind and the body having these information inbuilt, that it just takes over. What we were talking about previously, like how the body took over. Like Vikki didn't do anything on purpose, because at this point, speaking from a cognitive enthusiast perspective, that the brain wants to conserve energy for the labor. The brain starts stopping or minimizing the additional process which is required, and 35% of the energy goes into the brain functioning, especially our thinking brain. So it stops doing that, which it also stops whenever we have a stress response. But here, it's not a stress response. You have tons of oxytocin, you have tons of endorphin, you have adrenaline. So your body is preparing itself, just like any other process. And I feel so bad right now how I use that catching a cold example. That goes nowhere. It's a process beyond explanation. And just to bring the fatherly aspect to it, that because I won't say that I was supervising Vikki. Like I said, that I always saw that I am the support, I am the pillar. I need to be next to her, not over her and giving her instructions. And when I saw she was on all her fours, all I had to do was ask, okay, does this feel right? Is this making you feel better? And yes, no, or maybe something else. Vikki was very clear in letting me know that, okay, what she needs, what she doesn't. But from a fatherly perspective, I think there was a lot of inner voice that was already telling me to give instructions to Vikki. She should be doing deep breathing. She should be doing this box breathing or all the techniques
Oh yeah,
that
you
we...
did mention them though. Can you do this, do that? And I was like, babe, I can't handle.
Yeah.
I can't.
I tried. I mean, that was just an instinctive thing from a father's perspective, because we also have vasopressin as a neurotransmitter which starts kicking in, which is nothing but a protective hormone that the fathers get, and it kicks in. And sometimes some people may not have, how should I put it so that I don't offend people, but it's just something that takes over your inner dialogue. When it takes over, you instinctively say things which you may or may not mean to say, but that's something that you've seen or you've learned, and you feel like this is the right way. If I'm saying this, I'm doing this to protect my child. Instead of this, just changing the thinking to, the mother knows, her body knows, how can I support it to make it better?
Yeah, and if she's not asking for it, maybe she doesn't
Exactly,
need it.
that's what I tried once. She said she probably didn't even respond or had a weird expression, and that was enough for me to understand that, okay, this is not the time for me to do a meditation session with her.
Yeah.
But fact that Henry is smiling to that, he agrees.
Yeah.
But the fact that everything went at its own pace, there was a lot of calmness in the whole process. Even when this whole situation happened, Henry was out, there was not a moment where I felt like I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling anxious about what's gonna happen. I don't know, how was the feeling for you? Did you have any sort of feeling that...
I guess it was a bit of anxiousness, yes, because it wasn't fear, because I knew it was gonna be all right. There was no fear, but of course, you cannot imagine what it's gonna feel like beforehand. Yeah, there's no such thing. So it was a little respect that I had, and so I didn't have like overwhelming fear or overwhelming this kind of thing. It felt like I was doing the right thing. I'm in the right space. People are coming. It's gonna be okay. So at least I was calm.
But that entire experience of like you were explaining that got you pulled down somewhere like in your mind when Ditta said that there are a lot of pieces of the placenta inside, and that's not a good thing. We can cover that aspect in the second chapter of your story, and we can like pick right from here after his birth.
There is a field beyond fear, where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth. To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the power. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis.
Starting a podcast with poor recording tools in the market? It was painful until I found Zencastr. Its high quality audio and video recording, along with the option of a backup, makes it super sturdy and a savior at times. With an easy to use dashboard and super convenient tools for advertising campaigns such as reels and videos, Zencastr is my comfort choice. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BIRTHAGNI, BIRTHAGNI, and you will get 30% off of your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. You may also explore their free hobbyist plan to begin with.